Bizarre Brain Comics. Boom, 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 boom. Hello, Gary here for Bizarre Brain Comics. Gonna have another go at this. I shot the whole thing once, had a technical problem, and now I'm doing it again. So, this is where I like to look at some older comics, take a look at the characters and creators, and then examine the stories and the art. So this time what we're going to look at this magazine right here. This is Marvel Comics Savage Tales #4. It features Conan the Barbarian, but the one story we're going to look at is Ka-Zar, Lord of the Hidden Jungle. This is from 1975, was it? Or 74? We'll see. Hang on. We will see what it says in the big book of knowledge. Savage Tales #4 from 1974. And this is Legend of the Lizard Men. And this is reprinted from Astonishing Tales #9 from 1971. Written by Stan Lee and drawn by John Buscema. And Ka-Zar, he's a jungle hero from Marvel Comics, is Lord Kevin Plunder, also known as Ka-Zar, Lord of the Hidden Jungle. And his first appearance was in X-Men #10 in 1965. And he was born in England, a nobleman, and traveled with his father, a boy, to Antarctica. Well, his father and his mother, to Antarctica, where they discovered the Hidden Jungle, that which is also known as the Savage Land. In the Hidden Jungle is an area ringed by volcanoes which keep it warm, and it's a jungle out there. And the hidden Jungle is inhabited by dinosaurs and other extinct megafauna, including primitive humans and pre-humans. And his parents were killed by the man-apes. And he was raised by a mutationally intelligent, he was, this was a saber-toothed tiger who was exposed to some strange mists, which gave him almost human-like intelligence. But he's still a tiger. And this intelligent saber-toothed tiger is called Zabu. And just in case you're interested, the saber-toothed tiger is known as a Smilodon. And in most fiction, it's always the saber-toothed tiger. They're not even a tiger. But there are a variety of felinoids and other non-feline, not even necessarily mammalian creatures who had saber, scimitar, and dagger teeth. It's evolved many different times, so they're not all the saber-toothed tiger, but that's the biggest. And even though they're probably only the size of about a large lion today, but I'm off on a tangent. King Zambu, And the boy was then called Ka-Zar, which means son of the tiger. He was called this by the native humans who lived in that area. Eventually, he was known as the Lord of the Hidden Jungle, and many years later is to marry Shanna the She Devil, and she is a jungle heroine herself. But they kind of combined their stories together, and we won't get into that. And but this is not the only version of Ka-Zar. Okay, his first appearance, he was his name, and in the first appearance, he was David Rand. This first Ka-Zar was from the 1930s pulp magazines, and he first appeared in Ka-Zar #1. And I think that, to my knowledge, they only had 3 issues of that. But see, in Ka-Zar, he was just a Tarzan knockoff, and while he was called Ka-Zar, in that, the name meant brother of Zar, and Zar was the name of a lion. And instead of a saber-toothed tiger as a companion, he had a lion as a companion. But he also appeared in Atlas Comics in the 40s. I don't know if he ever, I imagine he probably did star in some of his own stories, but I've never seen them. But I have seen a reprint of, I think I have it somewhere, of a storyline with the original Human Torch versus Namor the Submariner, in which they were going all over the world. It was a long storyline, and at one point they went through Africa, and Ka-Zar made a brief cameo appearance there. So, and that's what we've got for Ka-Zar. This is one of, if not my favorite stories for Ka-Zar. And if you follow me, you know I like Tarzan. It's Tarzan knockoff. This is their version of Tarzan before they got the Tarzan license. Okay. Let us go to the hidden jungle for a marvelous adventure with Ka-Zar, Lord of the Hidden Jungle. And here we go. You can see this full cover. And this is a great cover done by Neil Adams, who we just recently lost. Like I said, this is from 1974. It's his version of Conan the Barbarian, and a great version of Ka-Zar and Zabu. And of course, this is a black and white magazine. It starts out with a Conan story done by Jim Starlin, and then has a Brack the Barbarian story, which is reprinted from one of the horror movies. It was and I did a video on that particular story quite some time ago now, and it's based on plotted by John Jakes, the creator of Brack the Barbarian, the novelist. You might, if you're familiar with his Kent Family Chronicles or in the North and South Saga and the such like. Yeah, he started off doing primarily science fiction and fantasy stuff. So let's take a look. Oh, this is great here. In preparation still of these fighting dinosaurs. And I told you. Now, here we get to the story. is in black and white. And I told you that it was previously published in a comic. Well, I have that comic right here, except it was without a cover. So we'll look at it this way. Because it kind of looks better in color. I love, of course, the artwork is larger in the black and white. But here you get to see it this way. And as I said, this is written by Stan Lee and drawn by the great John Buscema. And like I said, I think this was probably because it says here that they were having a storyline, and it's interrupted by this this story because for whatever reason they didn't get it done. So I think when this was originally published, it was probably a I think it was probably what we call an archive story or something like that. I think they actually used a different word, and I used it earlier today, but now I cannot think of it. Where it's kept, stories are kept, produced and kept just for fill-in material if they need it. Something happens, like probably happened here. So here we see Ka-Zar and Zabu rushing through the swamps. And Ka-Zar saying, "Come, Zabu. We must move quickly before it's too late." So they're on a mission. Start right off, and they're on a mission. And then here we have this great double-page spread by John Buscema. And this is it's because it starts off with a splash page and then goes right to a double-page spread. And this is a lovely drawing. And this is, I think it was probably before he started doing Conan the Barbarian. But and this story actually feels more like a Conan story. But what's neat is because it kind of presages Buscema's work on Conan the Barbarian, and also his later work on Tarzan when Marvel had the license for Tarzan. And I wanted to show you one thing here in the design of this. This is a lovely design, and it does not do a cardinal sin that I do see quite frequently by artists in comics and layout artists and magazines and the like. And that is, okay, you've got this one overall image, which is really, really nice. And here on this side, of course, it tells you, this whole image tells you a whole lot. You know it's probably nighttime, or at least darkish, in the swamp, foggy, in the jungle. You can see it. Then you see this lovely lady, lovely, very scantily clad lady, obviously well-to-do in a magnificent tent pavilion here with all this very opulent table with all the goodies. But notice the gutter where the two pages meet does not interfere with the image, with the main part of the image. You see Ka-Zar clear over here, and you see her clear over here, and neither of them, nothing really major there, is in the gutter. I have seen that done so many times in the past in comics and in magazines when they do the layout, and you get a major part of the central image right in the gutter. Like, especially hate it when they do a person's face, and it's even worse if it happens to be slightly off register. But of course here it's not. It's done wonderfully, and John Byrne did a wonderful job with that. Okay, move on with the story. And she says, "Oh, approach me, man. For too many nights has Aranda been lonely." very seductive lady. And if you notice her, she is completely topless. It's just some strategic hair following her. And so she invites him to stay with her here. Come and eat. Rest yourself. And so he's suspicious, but he takes her up on the offer, and he is surprised because Zabu is very friendly with this lady, which is not so common. He just acting like a kitten around her. And then he tells the story where earlier he had gone to a friendly village near the part of the jungle where he lives, and he finds it empty except for this blind old man. And the old man tells the story of all the men in the village had gone off to go hunting, and then later the village was attacked, and the women are screaming, "Lizard men, save us from the lizard men!" And the lizard men grab all the women and take off, leaving only this frightened old blind man alone in there, wonderfully drawn, carrying the women off. And see here, before Ka-Zar was squatting a few feet away from her, eating, and now he's sitting on the bed next to her while she's trying to coax him more, and says, "Oh, it must be mistaken because the lizard men don't do those things because they work for me." So he's instantly suspicious, draws his knife, and the lizard men come out from hiding, and he goes to the attack, but she gets them to stop the attack. So they're not going to harm you. They're under my command. And now the page doesn't want to turn. So he takes her word for it, and he says she's going to take him to her castle. So, then they will try to find out the cause of what is behind all this. So there she is in a reclining, being carried on a litter, and they have to cross this chasm that is bridged by this natural stone bridge. And at one point, part of it collapses. This is some great storytelling here, building tension and action. It collapses, and one of the lizard men is about to fall to his death, and Ka-Zar jumps the chasm, grabs the lizard man, throws him on his back, and then makes the leap again, nearly losing the lizard man, but he manages to save him. All this, some great visual storytelling. You see just what happens. You can see the tension, that action, everything. And the lizard man is brought to safety, and she thanks him. And then you see they finally come to her castle, and this is a great image. If that's not spooky, where you see this mist-shrouded castle off in the distance, and where she resides. Now they're in the castle, and said, "Oh, after such a journey, you must be weary. Here, rest, dine." And it has all these beautiful young ladies come out of apparently nowhere, but he notices that they look straight ahead, almost zombie-like. And then he realizes these are the very women from the village that he is looking for. So he grabs this one, says, "You, I know you." Her eyes just start to look ahead. "Speak, sorceress, speak." This must be some sorcery. These pages don't want to part. Yeah, so there's this. She's angry. He's angry, and she's angry at that. Says, "I was careless." And he grabs his knife and grabs the woman by her hair, threatens to cut her throat. "Witch, release them from your spell." And in the process, her crown falls from her head. My crown, it falls." And then the lizard men come, and they grab his hand, and they're actually attacking him. And he fights and thrashes them, hurls him about, and he grabs her crown, and she says, "No, my crown! I must have my crown, and the moon is almost up. I must have my crown before the moon comes up." And then she commands Zabu to attack him, and Zabu is obviously under her thrall, but even then he is slow and sluggish, and he's trying to resist. And Ka-Zar cannot do battle with his own brother, so then he rushes out of the castle, and she sends the lizardmen after him. Here we get another great image here, and he says, "They pursue me in a land where Ka-Zar is a stranger, but still it is a jungle, and Ka-Zar, the Jungle Lord." And here, as he's rushing through the forest, and she's propelled. Now he is bushwhacked. It's a trap. The lizardmen have been magically propelled above him in the tree, and they put a noose around his neck. But he manages to get leverage on the tree and pulls one of them out, and they both plunge. Here's some great storytelling here. They both plunge into the water, and you can see as Ka-Zar twists and dives in, and then they engage in battle under the water. Oh, the tension, everything just going, and then it's just blood on the surface of the water, and you see the shadow coming up, and it's Ka-Zar. He has survived. Now he goes back to the castle. He sneaks into the castle because the moon is almost up, and he sneaks in. But it's still a trap. See that pit of flames there, and here the lizardmen and the sorceress around to confront him, and she says, "Slay him." Here the lizardmen attack him. Here's the one that he had saved. Says, You are the one that I saved." "Yes, you saved me, but I serve Aranda." And then he attacks, and Ka-Zar hurls him into the flames. And the other one still attacks. So he saved him, only to later kill him in self-defense. The other one attacks, and he grabs him, smashes him, undoubtedly unconscious. Now here's this really great part here that I like. Some really, really sharp visual storytelling here. And I'll show you right here. Here it says, "No, it's too late. The moon has risen. The moon is up already. And it finds me without my crown." There she begins to transform, "which made me a part of the human world of beauty, the world I worshipped, which you have stolen from me." And she is a lizard person herself. And she was only human through magic. And she attacks him herself, but he dives down. She falls into the flames and perishes. And with her destruction, her magic is gone. The castle, which was magically endowed, fades away, and all the lizard men return, and they are becoming the very villagers that he had been looking for, the men. And they're back together with all the men and the women. Unfortunately, he wound up killing 2 of those lizard men. So he's back off. He and Zabu are back into the forest. And that is the end of that story. And it has a backup story with Lorna, the Jungle Girl. And this splash panel here is just a beautiful splash panel here. It's so nice. And so that is the end of Ka-Zar, Lord of the Hidden Jungle. And as I said before, this is one of, if not my all-time favorite Ka-Zar story. And if you can see, it has quite a feel of like Conan the Barbarian story, with the sorceress and all this other stuff, but still, and it's very good. I like the story, the pacing, the action, the adventure, and of course it's the power in John Buscema's art that really, really conveys the whole thing. If it had been done by a lesser artist, it would not be as good a story. But it was so wonderful. So I hope you enjoyed that. That's a fun story. So I hope you enjoyed it. So please like, share, subscribe, share it with your other friends who like jungle stories. Yeah. And leave a comment if you will. And remember,